Good morning, it's Karen, and this is my mid-year freakout tag. I love this one so much. I think this was one of the first videos that I ever filmed, and I am a little late to the party, but that is because we have so many projects going on at our place that I've only been able to film these answers here and there, so you're gonna get a very sporadic answering. You'll see some of the reasons why we have been so all over the place, and one of the reasons is because we have been painting some of our rooms, and we have also been having some babies. So please enjoy my tag. My two favorites of the year so far are Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. I loved it so much the first time that, of course, I had to read it a second time, so I've now read it and listened to it on audiobook, and I absolutely adored both experiences. And the second book that I read that I am so proud of myself for reading, that is Moby Dick. I will not say enough that will encapsulate how much this book captured my heart and soul, and I absolutely adore it. For best sequel, I would say Odd Child Out by Gilly Macmillan. This was the thing that sold me on Gilly Macmillan and the Jim Clemo series. I'm so happy that I found it. I have two favorite rereads, and one of them is technically more of a reread, and that's The Lost Years of Merlin. I first read this back in 2002, and my goal this year is to finish reading the series. So we'll see how that goes. But I was pleasantly surprised with how much I liked it, and the writing, and how the whole story was shaped. My second reread, I technically just read this year. I first read it this year, and then I had to read it a second time, and that is Emily St. John Mandel's The Sea of Tranquility. This was absolutely lovely. It's probably going to be one of my top of the year, maybe of all time. My most read genre is mystery, and that's because two of my goals this year were to read more mystery and more thriller. So, hence, I've just read more of those. Books that made me cry. It's not hard. It's not hard to make me cry. I'm a big sap. I'll show you this in a minute. But my biggest books that made me cry are The Sea of Tranquility, How High We Go in the Dark, Odd Child Out, and Many Dimensions. And now let me present to you Dreyfus and her triplets. Two books that made me happy: The Thursday Murder Club and My Lady Jane. My Lady Jane I listened to on audiobook. Hilarious. Thursday Murder Club, actually, I listened to on audio as well. I don't really acquire a lot of books. I tend to take things out of the library, or I'm rereading a bunch that I already own. So I would say my top three books that were the most beautiful were How High We Go in the Dark. That one, gorgeous. Oh my goodness, the aesthetic, just like, beautiful. Daughter of the Moon Goddess is stunning. And one that's just kind of like a quirky surprise one for me was Magic Steeped in Poison. That one was, it was a fun book, but the cover, oh my goodness. And then the sequel, that cover, oh. So those would be my three most beautiful books that I've read this year. Books that I'd like to finish before the end of the year. I am currently in the middle of Plague of Swords by Miles Cameron. I'd like to finish that one off. I am also in the middle of Three Daughters of Eve. It was just too intense for that moment in time when I started it, so I'm hoping to find a more appropriate time to read it. And then I'd really like to finish off the T.A. Barron Merlin series. I started it. It's a reread for me. So I'm really looking forward to finishing that off. There are 4 more books, and I just really like to get those ones done. For a book that I'm most anticipating by the end of the year, I have 3. A Venom Dark and Sweet, which is the sequel to A Magic Steeped in Poison. I absolutely loved this. Asian-inspired, tea-inspired fantasy. It was so much fun. The second is another sequel, the second book to The Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which is called Heart of the Sun Warrior. And I absolutely adored that book. That was a 5-star for me, and I'm continuing with the series no matter what. And then my last one is another sequel, and it's the 3rd book in the Thursday Murder Club series, and that's The Bullet That Missed. A new release that I haven't read yet is Robert Jackson Bennett's Lachlan's. It's the 3rd book in the series. I'm currently on hold at the library, and I can't wait to read it. My biggest disappointment was the annual migration of clouds. I just wanted this to be a bit more than it was. It is a very short novel, and it is more focused on the character and the coming of age. I think I just wanted a little bit more world in it. The biggest surprise for me, for sure, is the Jim Clemmo series. On a whim, just decided to try another Jilly McMillan. I really liked The Nanny. And then I came into the Jim Clemmo series. I read the first one. I listened to the first one. And I liked it. It was good. It was a good solid 4.5 stars. And then I listened to the second one, and that's what sold me on the series. And now I am so happy that I can continue. My favorite videos that I have done so far this year are my moon review, wherein I reviewed Daughter of the Moon Goddess and How High We Go in the Dark. And then a close second was my Try a Chapter tag, but I think my moon review and that whole idea of it is my favorite thing ever, and I've got a couple more ideas to do. Let's end this back where I started this, and the last question is name some booktube people that you are totally into, and I have 2 right now. I have Brighton Bookish. I think she so far has the most books in common with me. I think she's sort of my booktube twin, as you will. And I also have been really enjoying Lauren at Paperback Empire. I absolutely adore watching her TBR jar pick with all of her gold stars and her colored stars. They're so fantastic. So please check them out. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.